This is a most profound story. At first glance, it appears that God is endorsing child sacrifice. But hold on for a moment. Let's look a little deeper here. The setting is simple. God asked Abraham to take his son and sacrifice him on an altar, to put him to death. This is no idle request. God reminded Abraham that this was his only son. His memory hardly needed assistance. For years he had waited for this child, and Isaac was the very son that God had promised would be the father of countless descendants. God had been very specific about that, and it was obvious that a dead son could have no offspring. God's request must have bewildered Abraham. In all probability, he had witnessed the human sacrifice practiced by the nations of that day and knew it was a common form of appeasing their gods. Yet God's command to sacrifice Isaac went against everything that Abraham knew about the Creator. God, in His love, had promised Isaac as a descendant that would bear many children. There was no earthly way to harmonize God's previous promise with His present command. How could God be so inconsistent? And yet, Abraham had learned that God was utterly trustworthy, so he did just as God requested. Calling his son, he saddled a family donkey, and taking the trappings for sacrifice making, he set off to do God's bidding. His heart must have been torn with anguish. Being obedient was an immense step for Abraham, but that step showed his absolute faith in God's goodness. Well, the Bible does not leave us guessing Abraham's thoughts. It tells us that Abraham clung to God's promise, convinced that even if he sacrificed Isaac, God would raise him from the dead.